What's up? What's up? What it is? Checking in on the soapbox again, you know. I just wanted to put something on your mind, man. And in the meantime, let something marinate for a second. But yeah, coming to you live, man. Like and subscribe, like what you subscribe to. But check it out. When it comes to effort, do you feel like there's a limit on the amount of effort you should put in to certain situations, or should you just go 100% every time? Like, what you think about that? I mean, I got my thoughts, but I feel like effort depends on not only the people, but the circumstance, like the situation you in. Because dealing with certain people, they the only way they know to operate is to take advantage or dominate where they can. You know what I'm saying? To get what they can get out of a situation, as opposed to trying to build common ground in a situation, to build in a situation, not knowing, maybe unconsciously, or maybe they know to an extent, but I feel like more times than not, unconsciously, they don't realize that destroys connections when you always attempt to dominate, and that'll make people put in less effort. And when it comes to building, it takes a team to build. A person could build on their own, build themselves up, build what they can build by themselves. But to have anything, to build anything that's going to sustain and last the test of time, you need a team, people of like mind, of like kind. You know what I'm saying? Body, spirit, and mind. All on one accord, doing the same thing. That's what stands the test of time. And if you study history and look back and see different organizations, even how this country was built, that's the perfect and prime example. Look how long this country has been able to maintain and sustain, and look at all the people they did wrong to get to that position, or get to this position, to where they like own everything. They have a monopoly on all the resources. They're even going overseas and, you know what I'm saying, taking people's stuff and kicking them out their crib and all that kind of stuff. Think about it. It takes devotion to the standard that's set by those of like mind. They don't agree on everything, you know what I'm saying, but they understand what the overall agenda or goal is. And I feel like more times than not, those of my tribe, those who share my struggle, we get caught up in the petty differences and never allow ourselves to focus on the larger goal or the greater goal. So therefore, we never get to the point of setting in motion a plan to get what we all need to achieve to conquer our common or mutual enemy. We make each other enemies because of our differences of perspective, which is it pales in comparison. Not to belittle anybody's perspective, because everybody's perspective is valid, according to them being human beings. Only in that sense, even if I don't agree with their perspective. But I'm saying our perspective pales in comparison to the greater good or the greater goal that could be accomplished if we set our personal differences aside for that moment to achieve the greater good. And it will benefit not only you in your lifetime, but those after you in their lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Those after you. But we never get to the point of thinking like that, because a man will avenge a small slight, you know what I'm saying, with the full force of his vengeance before he attempts. He will never avenge a slight that is so massive to the point where it's like devastation, almost like annihilating. But the small things are the things that we are ready to go to war over. That's backwards to me, That's backwards. And I'm not here to try to make anybody act or coerce anybody to act a certain way. I'm just saying, from where I'm sitting in my perspective and what I observe, I feel as though that's backwards. Because everybody has a perspective, and your perspective is shaped according to your personal experience. You understand based off of what you've been exposed to or introduced to. You only know what you've been around and experienced. And then you can also gain knowledge by those who have experienced things, and you trust their advice to the point where their experience becomes knowledge for you, so you don't fall into those pitfalls. Though that's a case of shaping your perspective as well. But more times than not, your perspective is shaped by what you personally went through and your experience. So you proceed according to your knowledge, and your perspective is shaped according to your understanding. So therefore, nobody's life is exactly like your life was or is. So therefore, everybody's perspective is naturally going to be different. So why would you make war knowing that there's going to be a difference of perspective, which is human nature? Why would you make that a cause of war, especially in your tribe, like among the ones like you, of your community, you know what I'm saying, with your same sensibilities, and have the same plight as you, you know, and have a mutual enemy, you know what I'm saying? You guys have the same overall adversary, as far as that which seeks to constrict and suppress you, you know? And you can call that whatever you want to call that. But however you identify your enemy as or to be, that's you, you know what I'm saying? But those of like kind among the same tribe who are comrades, they share an enemy. You know what I'm saying? Because anything that attempts to encroach on your principles, and then really at the foundation attempts to encroach on your being a human, like everybody has a right to proceed in their journey of life, or journey in life, the way they choose to see fit. I know there's laws in place, and the law of the land, and then the law of the state, and federal law. No, I understand that, but as far as your pursuit, and I'm not talking about in the sense of the Constitution when I say this, I mean in the literal sense, your pursuit of happiness and your pursuit of pleasure, that's according to how you see fit, because you know what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? Once you become or get into a mature state of mind, and you start to analyze and seek to grow or develop, you know what I'm saying, or elevate from your position as an adult, as a mature adult, you'll know what it takes to get there, and that's on you to decide. So the law of the land, or the law of the state, or the law of, you know what I'm saying, the federal law, none of that don't matter as far as you as a human being and the rights that are deserved, that you are owed, just be based off that, being a human being. Then the step further is, as a human being, what your principles are, what you feel as though, matter of fact, I take that back. Your principles are what you standing on, what your values are, what you believe, you know what I'm saying? What you're willing to die for. If you're not willing to die for your principles, you need to rethink your principles, you know what I'm saying? Because the reality is, in life, your principles are going to be tested, whether by situations or people. Nonetheless, your principles will be tested. Are you going to stand on those? Are you going to trade out? And that'll be on you to decide when that time comes. You see what I'm saying? But yet and still, if you choose to do so as a human being, that's your right to do so. And then it's my right as a human being to decide how I deal with people that trade on their principles. That's all that's in my right too, you know? So I say that to say, you know, if you don't find something to live for, or die for, excuse me, if you don't find something to die for, you're not fit to live. And that goes back to the principle. What are you standing on? You see what I'm saying? What are you standing on? And once you decide what you're standing on, then you can take steps to progress and build and develop and cultivate something, you know what I'm saying? Not just for you solely in your lifetime, but something that you could possibly teach and hand down to the next to be, you know? Because that's what it's all about. We're here to leave behind something for the next to pick up and develop further. But it just so happens we've been deprived to the point where we haven't had the opportunity to cultivate or grow or develop anything to pass down. So therefore, we're in a perpetual state of not only trying to figure things out, but trying to maintain us so that we can maintain all those under us. You know what I'm saying? But the sad reality is that's an uphill battle in itself. That's a whole nother topic, and you know, I guess I could touch on it if y'all want to talk about that. But the point I wanted to make, though, I know I'm going way off, but the point I wanted to make is no matter what external forces say is the paradigm, is the way that you're supposed to act or carry yourself, you as a human being dictate what you feel like you want out of life in terms of your pursuit to your happiness, in pursuit of your pleasure, in pursuit of your success. That's determined by you. You see what I'm saying? Because you gotta believe, you gotta think about this. The Constitution in itself was built, and this country was built based on protection of the property that was seized by illegal means or by wicked means by those who came and conquered this land. And they just documented, pretty much getting on one accord with each other. Everybody in that room was on one accord. They had this. If they voted. That was that's what I'm saying about democracy worked for them in that case because among them they had democracy. They voted amongst themselves. Everybody outside that didn't have the right to vote on their affairs. Look at today. The voter suppression is the same thing. This is not our country. That's a whole nother topic. I was gonna say this is not our country, and I believe that, but that's a whole nother topic and a different. You know what I'm saying? But they just documented what was necessary to maintain and sustain the property that they seized by illegal means. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, we were property. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say, if you live and your principle or your allegiance is to what has been set in place for you to believe and adhere to, based on what was fed to you by those who resource-wise and economically and socially in this country are dominant or are over you. You know what I'm saying? You misguide. You gotta reevaluate your principles. You gotta reevaluate what you feel as though you're willing to stand on. And it from the outstart, you know, everything that was listed in that preamble and that piece of documentation wasn't meant for you to live your life by, because it didn't have any legislation, or it didn't have any it wasn't in your interest. It wasn't based on your pursuit of success or your pursuit of happiness, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So then it comes a time when you gotta reevaluate. You gotta rethink. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point in time, once you realize that what you believed formerly is not the case, it takes a lot of perseverance and it takes a lot of strength to continue, and then not only to continue, but to reform or reshape or rebuild or to begin to recreate something that will fit into what you desire or what you were looking for when you believed in a lie. Because for you to believe in something that was false or fallacy, it was something that drew you to that. Okay, once you realize that was fallacy or false, the desire that which drew you to that, try to recreate that on a different, you know what I'm saying, on a different level, in a different section, in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Because human beings want security. You know what I'm saying? Security. They want to be valued. You see what I'm saying? Considered, acknowledged, things like that. And for the most part, respected. And those are the main things. That's like basic human needs when it comes to dealing with or interacting with your surroundings, society, people in that society or in this society. As long as you respect that person, you know what I'm saying? As long as you consider or acknowledge that person as being a human being. You see what I'm saying? And as long as there's some consistency or security in how you know, deal with this person, with these human beings. Don't flip-flop or trade, because being stable is a big thing, especially when it comes to manhood as well. Being consistent is a big thing. And pick the proper ones to be consistent with, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes your consistency will rub people the wrong way, and then that'll be the time you fall back. You're still being consistent, but out of the presence of those who hate your consistency. You know what I'm saying? But always remain consistent. But that's a big thing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta remain consistent. You gotta remain not only consistent but persistent. But remain the same. Don't change because the circumstance change. Again, that's not to say that you have to allow everybody to bask in your consistency. You know, you could pick and choose who you keep as company. And that's important too. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're the type of person that needs to be around people all the time, I used to be like that. I used to have to be around people all the time, especially when I was younger, because I didn't have a stable home life like that. So I felt like being around people was almost like creating family or creating bond, you know, create some kind of stability. You know what I'm saying? So I had a desire or a thirst or a hunger to be around people and really also to glean understanding and knowledge, because there was a lot of people dropping knowledge on, like wisdom on me and things like that, and putting things in my mind that marinated and actually made me the man I am today, and allowed me to have the understanding and courage to enact some of the things I did throughout my life, whether for the good or bad, you know. But yeah, it's, if you have the desire to always be around people and you cannot enjoy your solitude or the time to yourself to build your mind, build your soul, build your spirit, build your body, whatever it is you need to build in your times of solitude, you will always be a victim, or you'll always be at the mercy of your surroundings or the people you keep as company. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, because of your weakness or your desire to always be around people, you'll always be influenced based on that need or desire to be around those people. Because if you need to be around people, you gotta please people. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make people like you. And that was, like I think I shared this before, that was one of my hang-ups. I'm not a people pleaser per se, but I do value people's opinion of me. I do believe in first impressions, and then from a first impression, that pretty much sets the standard or the tone for how your interactions with this person will be in the future. Not to say that you can't change that, you know what I'm saying? But the first impression will always stick in your mind. And if you make a bad one, you always fight against that first impression every encounter after that. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta have almost a perfect score after that, you feel me, to make a lasting impression beyond that first impression on the heart or mind of that person that you're in contact with at that moment, you know? So I used to be, and then as far as being a people pleaser, I feel as though that sentiment comes from a genuine place, because I think it's rooted in compassion or empathy, being a people pleaser in a sense. And I know that sounds crazy. You might disagree. You know what I'm saying? You can comment down below. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Is that crazy? I feel like that sentiment is rooted in compassion and empathy. You know? It's almost like being hypercritical of yourself to the point where you're seeing yourself through somebody else's eyes, and you're trying to do and say all the right things to make sure that in this person's eyes, they see you as lovable and kind, or whatever impression that you're trying to get across to that person or those people, you know? That's somewhat compassionate, to even care that much what somebody else think about you. Because I don't really, you know, once I realize it's up, like I come into every situation with respect, and I'm cordial. I'm open. I'm an open person. I'm communicative. And until I have reason to believe that that's not how I should proceed, then that's how that's me. There's nothing fake about it. That's just how I am naturally, you know. But once I see that that's not how I need to be in that circumstances, it's over with. It's up. You know, I could distance myself, because I'm mature enough now to appreciate the times of solitude. You know what I'm saying? I study calisthenics. I stay active. I'm an active person naturally. So I gotta be doing something, push-ups, shadow boxing, whatever the case, to keep my body active. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I feed my mind. So now solitude is not such a daunting thing to me anymore. It's not like like, oh my God, I'm alone. I need to get on the phone and get somebody to come over real quick. I need to go through. I need to see what's happening. None of that. I don't gotta do that no more. It's all good, you know, because I've learned to allow myself to be cool or appreciate the times of solitude. And I think it's different reasons for that. Some people don't like to be alone because they hate themselves. And I think in my case, I always love I'm not conceited or nothing like that, but I've always had high self-esteem. Let me say it like that. I've always had high self-esteem, but my hang up was the reason I didn't want to be alone is because I equated solitude with lack of control. As far as when you're in solitude, you're inactive for that moment. Even though I'm doing push-ups and staying active, as far as making something happen in the world, you're inactive. You know what I'm saying? That time to yourself taking you're dormant. You're just relaxing, you're chilling, you're not doing nothing out in the world. And I equated that with stagnation. So I'm thinking every time I'm isolated, and I think jail has something to do with that. Institutionalization is real, man. If anybody has ever told you that, hey man, I think bro right here might be institutionalized, you like laughed it off. It's a real thing, man. Institutionalization is real. You become accustomed to living like an animal, man, in closed quarters and confined in solitude. You might have cellmates, but I'm talking about as far as like lockdown and things like that. If you mess around and go to the whole, cause you got a DR or something like that, and they send you to the DR board and they say you got so many days in lockdown in the hole or something like that. That's isolation, bro. You know what I'm saying? Forced, imposed isolation. And especially if you start that way young, it can take a toll on your mentality. And then when you come out into the world, you're gonna function in a manner, not to say that the way people project the way you should act is the way you should act. But I'm talking about it perpetuates the antisocial sensibilities. You know what I'm saying? You'll be less likely to want to engage in social encounters if you've been isolated for so long, and if you become accustomed to just being isolated, especially when you start young. Like them YDCs, like the youth detention centers and stuff like that, when they be having them youngsters like locked down and stuff, they come out crazy. You wonder why they come out and do what they do when they come out to the streets or out into the world, because that's been their existence for however long the judge felt necessary to drag them through that process, you know. And then now their mentality is shot. Before they went in, their mentality was shot because of their environment, where they come from, and what they had to go through and endure, which put them in that position. So anybody that's saying that jail and prison is rehabilitation, they need to shoot themselves, man. You know what I'm saying? They need to exit the conversation immediately, like stop talking type thing, you know? Because that's not rehabilitating anybody to allow a person who has already been slighted and shorted by a system that only wants to perpetuate their being slighted. That's all that is. It's like excessive punishment. That goes against the 8th Amendment, right? You know what I'm saying? That's excessive punishment. That's unwarranted. Because from the outstart, we didn't have anything to work with. Then when we find something to work with, it's criminalized, it's not right. Look how they've legalized herb, you know what I'm saying, in certain states. Because every state is its own country almost, because they got their own laws, which still don't make sense to me. We're supposed to be a country, but every state got their own laws. You tell me how crazy that sound, man. Comment in the comment section below, man. Let me know. But yeah, man. So every state got their own laws, so then therefore, in certain states, herb is legal. Like here in California, herb is legal, right? But back in the days, you know what I'm saying, you was getting major time for getting caught with close to an ounce or close to, you know, a couple zips, you getting time, you know? But now all of a sudden it's cool. So I'm saying to you, criminality is based on the interpretation of the person in control of the laws, litigation, the courts, the police force, whoever's in charge of all those things, and who has control or monopoly of the resources that make those things a reality. You know what I'm saying? That's who dictates what's right or wrong. That's who criminalizes. Think about this. Our beloved ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Those who have passed on, who were existing during slavery, right? When slavery ended, the things that we in turn did, which is human nature to survive. Because if you've been left with no understanding on who you are, where you go from where you are now, you know what I'm saying? You've been only trained to do something on behalf of somebody else because you've been subjected in bondage. You know what I'm saying? You haven't had any psychological healing. You haven't had any physical healing from all the bruises and bumps and slashes you've received. You haven't received any resources or anything. No startup plan, no blueprint or nothing. You just told, okay, you're good now. We don't need you no more. You're going to resort to certain means to survive and maintain your livelihood and your family's livelihood. So then what did they do in turn? They criminalized everything we did. So if we run up in somebody's crib or on their farm and grab their pig and slaughter the pig to eat because we don't got nowhere else to go at, thievery now is penalized with death. You know what I'm saying? If I go up in the store at that time and take something that I need, you know what I'm saying, to cook a meal for that night, because I've been left with no other alternative to gain what I need, you know what I'm saying? That has been chosen as the highest offense in the land, you know? And then as time went on and the police progressed and became who they are today, you know what I'm saying? They became the judge, jury, and executioners in the streets, especially when it comes to us. So all that being said, all that we have endured and have been through and have survived through, you see, never should it ever be a question as to, at this point in time especially, what principles you standing on, who you associating with, you know what I'm saying, what you believe in, what you're willing to die for. Because the main thing that makes people not want to stand on their principle is their fear of death. Because death is going to come to every human being, whether you want it to come or not, eventually. You know what I'm saying? God forbid for everybody. You know what I'm saying? God forbid. Let it not happen to you today. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to put it in the atmosphere or speak it into existence, but I'm just saying it's going to come for everybody. And if you fear it, in times where you need to stand on what you believe in, you know what I'm saying, you won't, because you fear. Whereas if you understand everything gonna be cool, because this is my belief. I'm not religious. I feel as though I'm spiritual though. I feel as though once your flesh ceases to exist, what's inside, like your consciousness, your essence, your spirit, your energy, it don't cease to be, bro. Because we haven't even tapped into the full capacity of this energy. And I know that's a whole other topic. Let me chill right there because I can go off into a whole little thing right there. But that's just my belief, so that makes me not fear death. Because I feel like the time in flesh is just temporary, you know? So therefore, when it comes time for me to stand on principle, I'm gonna stand on it. I'm not gonna sway from that. I'm not gonna sway from it. There's no need to. Because who are you? You're another human being. You might have a little bit more at me at the time than at the time. You know what I'm saying? You might be a little bit more successful in your eyes at the time. You might be further along as far as your understanding in a certain position at the time. You might occupy a higher position at the time. All those things, it's all about time. So at that time, you might feel like you a better man than me. That's cool. But me, standing on my principles, you know what I'm saying? I understand that no matter what I do or don't have, I'm still a man. No matter what I do or don't possess, I'm still a man. Nothing gonna change that, because the things or material things do not make me a man. You know what I'm saying? But if I was adorned with those material things, the man will make those things coveted. You know what I'm saying? People will envy those things because the man got them. I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man regardless of the circumstance. So therefore, you know, you cannot seduce or tempt me away from my principle based off of material things. You see what I'm saying? I'm standing on that. And whatever your principles are, those are your principles. You know, I can't tell you or dictate what you believe or what you adhere to. That's on you. But I'm just saying for me, in that case, in that scenario, just because that person is doing better in their eyes and have more in their eyes, that doesn't make them a better man than me. And I carry myself that way. No matter what I do or don't know, because I know something. I don't know everything, but I know what I know, though. You know what I'm saying? Just like the next man in their position, they know what they know. You know what I'm saying? They don't know everything, but they know what they know. And I cannot discredit them for knowing what they know. It's all good. But don't belittle what I know because you feel like your knowing is better than my knowing. You feel me? You just know what you know. Like, for real, like, and I don't be getting that. So it's like, if you stand on your principle, whatever your principle is, respect it in the next man when they stand on their principle. And I'm really just talking to those of mine, you know what I'm saying? Those of like kind. Those of my tribe, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to us, let's stop being so critical, man. Let's respect the next man for standing on his principle. And then we can converse and convene and see what makes that man stand on that principle. What is his principles? You know what I'm saying? Why are we having friction? Now, when it comes to your enemy, man, you don't need to understand what their principles are, because their principles, if that's your enemy and you identify that as your enemy, their principle is going to be a natural antithesis to your principle. It's going to be a natural rival to your principle. So you don't need to understand. Just stand on yours. Forget understanding theirs, because you already know if you identified that as your enemy, that they against you regardless. Though you don't need to understand what's against you. You know what I'm saying? All you need to understand is it's against you. And as long as you maintain what you got and handle your business when the time comes, you know what I'm saying? That's not to say you can't study your enemy. You can study all day. But I'm saying, as far as seeking to have faith in their expression as to why they stand on that principle, that's only for your tribesmen. You take that energy when it comes to your comrades, your family, those who you're trying to build with. Those who's trying to destroy you, though, you don't have to understand or have no compassion or be passionate about why they stand on what they stand on. I really don't care. I just know what you stand on is against what I stand on, and that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you keep it at a distance, it's cool. If not, we do what we do. But the goal and the mission should be to multiply good times and positive energy and positivity and offspring. You know what I'm saying? And to grow and develop and to progress and to cultivate something that will stand the test of time, and to also understand that in the meantime, timing might not always be on your side. But nonetheless, stand all 10 toes down on your principles, no matter how it go down, and you'll come out better for it. Because when it's all said and done, if you take your last breath standing on your principle, all those who witness that they can at least say that. Cause you know how it go when you go to funerals. Everybody gonna say the good. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna say no negative about you at the funeral, or they gonna get ran up out of there because there's nothing but family and loved ones in there. You know what I'm saying? So as you stand on your principle, that's your last day. Stand on that, bro. Cause this is temporary anyway. Whether somebody come take it for you or you lose it or whatever the case may be, it's temporary. So therefore, life is too short, time is too precious to allow someone that is against you to dictate whether you do or don't stand on your principle at this moment or that moment. Stand on it always. There's different ways to handle. There's different methods you could take while standing on your principles. You can still be creative and innovative, but never forfeit or forsake your principles, though. Because once you do that, you a compromised man. There's nothing you won't do. You'll stoop to any level at that point because you don't stand for nothing. So you'll go for anything. You know what I'm saying? You'll go for anything. So just try to keep that in mind. Coming to you live, you know what I'm saying? Like and subscribe. You know, like what you subscribe to. And it's all love. And everybody, just remember too, that when it comes to building, anything that seeks to destroy what you build, whether that's peace of mind, whether that's physically, internally, externally, however, by any means, if anybody is attempting to destroy whatever you're trying to build, if you don't identify that person as an enemy, it'll go bad for you. And just because you identify somebody identify somebody as an enemy doesn't mean that you cannot, in time, repair what was damaged, you know? Because certain enemies are only enemies because of lack of understanding or misinterpretation, whereas other enemies are just naturally against you no matter what, and they want to see your demise. They want to see you fail. They want to see you deprived. They want to see you depraved. They want to see you hurt and injured and lifeless. That's a mortal enemy. You know what I'm saying? That's an enemy that will always be like constant, consistent. But sometimes you make enemies out of those who it's just a misunderstanding that's creating that wedge. Well, if you come to that understanding, you'll realize that they kind of think similar to how you think. They're pretty much going or undergoing the same thing you undergoing and enduring and trying to come up from. You know, they are part of the same struggle. And it's like the lost tribesman, you know what I'm saying? Your long lost cousin or family member. But the difference of perspective or the method used or employed to stand on your perspective principles, you know what I'm saying? That's what caused the friction, because there's a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding, not knowing that y'all should be respecting each other because y'all both standing on your principles. And like I said, you should only award that energy to those of like kind, like mind, like the tribe. You know what I'm saying? Of like tribe. When it comes to your mortal enemy, those that want to see you dead, they want to see your demise, want to see you fail, want to see you hurt, injured, all that, you don't got time, no. There's no reconciliation, there's no peace, there's no treaty, there's no none of that. It's on from jump, on sight. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to that kind of enemy. But when it comes to those similar struggle, man, try to have the benefit of the doubt for the potential that they might just have a misunderstanding. Now, if you realize that they're conditioned to the point where they want to see your demise just like your mortal enemy, then you got to just do what you got to do with them, because we all not going to make it up. You feel me? That's just what it is. That's the reality. But start off with the benefit of the doubt, because it could burn you. It could turn around and burn you too. That hurts me too when I give somebody the benefit of the doubt, and then I find out in the long run I shouldn't have. Like, I should have kept my distance or stayed out of their way. It hurt, but you shouldn't let that make you jaded though. Because just because that person did that doesn't mean that the next acquaintance would do the same thing. You got to go into every situation with an open mind. And then you got to peep tendencies. If somebody is showing the same tendencies as that person that did you grimy and greasy, be a little more observant before you share. You know what I'm saying? Be more selective with your engagement with a person that you recognize in certain tendencies in. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, you know, just thought I'd check in on the soapbox again, you know. Yeah, yes indeed. May your day go accordingly. May you see nothing but sunshine and good times, you know, and smiles, you know, but still remain focused when you smile though, you know. Keep your sense of humor, but remain focused though. And yeah, indeed. All love.